Coming to you from 4,200 feet in the hills of Oregon, it's the voice of Chi-Town, the reddest beard in the high desert, your host of the MOA broadcast, Sam Wilson. All right, folks, we got a fantastic show lined out for you. As usual, no expense has been spared, nor has there been any lack of preparation to make sure you get the best broadcast available. Let's jump right in to our show highlights. This is episode 40 of the Make It Out Alive broadcast, and our show highlights include border czar Tom Homan fights back against government corruption allegations. We'll dig into that momentarily. A dismembered Scottish lawyer in Los Angeles. High-intensity training. That's going to be a good one, possibly part of an ongoing series. So if you're into physical fitness, weight training, getting in better shape, bodybuilding, and all that stuff, if you've heard of high-intensity training or HIIT training, we're going to be digging into that and explaining some of the intricacies of that particular method. Ice is getting hot in Chicago and Portland and elsewhere. And finally, a $50,000 fart prank stinks to high heaven. All right, folks. Again, gonna have a great show. Let's jump right into it. Now, for those of you that are used to watching the audio, or excuse me, the video version of this, we're not going to have a video of this one. I'm still on the fence and trying to figure out how I'm going to do this as far as multiple video and audio episodes a week. It just adds so much time because I am an analog boy in a digital world. It adds so much time to produce the video episodes in HD or whatever in the world, 720 or 1080 or whatever in the world the deal is. It's so much easier and faster to jump in here and pump out a nice audio-only episode of the podcast. So I'm still working on that. And again, these primarily go out over the radio. So, it's something I'm battling with. But this video or this episode will be audio-only, so don't have to worry about looking for the video, whether it's through Patreon or eventually whenever it gets kicked over to Spotify and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So let's keep moving with that. That'll be, well, again, we're going to work on that. We have some very good video episodes planned, but it's just a matter of timing and all that kind of stuff. Dinner last night. So I've talked about this a number of times. I'm a huge fan of food, obviously, a good, delicious meal. And for those of you that are driving into work or at work or just getting started in the morning, I like to tantalize you with a delicious meal from the night before that I had. So we've received several emails on people appreciating the food stuff, so that's what we do. It was huevos rancheros last night, or huevos rancheros for those of you that habla español. Now, this is, like we talked about last episode, this is white people taco night, okay? I'm not a chef, I'm not a cook, I don't play one on TV or even stay at Holiday Inn last night, but I do have a certain way I like my food, and it's very tasty to me, so I enjoy it. For this one, though, normally what I'll do with huevos rancheros is I'll fry up 2 tortillas, and then I'll do 2 fried eggs on top of that. Last night, though, did 3 of them because I was pretty hungry, and did scrambled eggs. Now, I've talked about this a number of times. I've had some questions about this. Guys, I'm not an expert on food or culinary processes and so forth. But if you go to YouTube or the internet and you type in Michelin-star chef scrambled eggs or some combination of those search terms, you'll get the type of scrambled eggs that I like to make that some of you have asked about. Yes, most of these you'll find are the demonstration videos and stuff. They're done by European chefs. And typically they like their eggs a little less cooked over there. In some cases, you could almost refer to them as like a thick porridge. They're a lot different than standard American scrambled eggs. At first glance or at first, taste, you may not think you would like it, but I urge you, try it. Type in or do a search on Michelin-star chef scrambled eggs. Watch a few videos. You're going to think it's very different than American-style scrambled eggs, which are these big, heavy, almost like rubbery, burnt chunks of scrambled egg that are rock solid and they rest like a brick in your stomach. The European style, the Michelin style, whatever in the world it is. I don't care. I don't know. All I know is that I like it, and it's very easy to prepare. It's one of the few times I'll use a nonstick pan in the kitchen because it makes it much easier, and you can prepare them over medium to medium, low, medium, high heat, and get it done pretty quickly. But it is delicious. You use a little bit of creme fraiche or sour cream in there instead of like just standard milk or water like we would get in typical American scrambled eggs. It's very different, but it's delicious. The egg is probably the most versatile food in the world, and the Michelin star or chef, whatever, style scrambled eggs are absolutely delicious. So last night I put those on my huevos rancheros, did three of the tortillas, and put some of those ranch-style beans on there, then the scrambled eggs and a little bit of shredded cheese and a little bit of salsa and then some hot sauce on top of all that. It was delicious. Loved it. Now, the interesting thing is, if you have pets, chances are dogs or cats primarily, but probably any pet because it's a protein, they're going to love scrambled eggs. So we have here at the Gear Convoy compound, we have Bacon, which is our English pointer dog. He's about 8 or 9 years old, give or take. Excellent dog. Everybody loves him everywhere we go. Just today, I was out getting a hamburger and a hot dog with him at the local hamburger stand, and I mean, there was literally several people lined up just to pet him and tell us what a good boy he is. He's a good dog. And then we got Kobra, the black shop cat. Either way, the point is they both love scrambled eggs. So if you ever want to give your pets a special treat, let me tell you, especially like those Michelin star, you'll have some highfalutin pets, folks. If you give your pets Michelin star chef style scrambled eggs. So anyways, Kobra and Bacon both love them tremendously. You know what they also love is Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, I've been talking about this in the last couple of episodes. So what I've been doing is I live out in the middle of nowhere. The nearest town is about 30 to 40 miles away, depending on what part of town you drive to. So it's about a 35, 40-minute drive in a town. Where I live, we've got one or two like cafes or like a place that you can get some food, but generally there's not much. No chains, nothing like that. So when I go into town, sometimes I'll try, and I got the dog with me or the cat and or both or whatever. I'll try different food and stuff. One of the chains I hadn't tried in a long time, and I mentioned this in another episode, was Kentucky Fried Chicken. The last time I had Kentucky Fried Chicken was almost 10 years ago, and I was extremely disappointed. The chicken wasn't really that good, and the sides, the mashed potatoes and gravy and the coleslaw they weren't disgusting, but they were not tasty at all. I didn't even finish all of it, and fried chicken is probably my single favorite food. One of my favorite meals is probably medium rare strip, New York strip steak, and scrambled eggs. But one of my absolute favorite foods of all time is fried chicken. I cannot get enough fried chicken. Whether it was, Church's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Leroy's. There was a whole bunch of different ones we had back in the Midwest, in St. Louis area. That being said, so I decided to give KFC another chance a couple of weeks ago or a month or two ago, whatever it was. In my opinion, for fast food chicken, it was delicious. The chicken itself was great. I thought it was really good as fast food fried chicken. Let's be honest, we're not talking about a gourmet sit-down restaurant type of experience here, guys. But if you're going there to get some fast food, I thought it was delicious. The mashed potatoes and gravy and the coleslaw, they were decent. I enjoyed them, but it was nothing to write home about. I would continue to eat them, whatever. The funny thing, though, is Bacon and Kobra cannot get enough KFC. So when I come home, if they don't go into town with me or if we just get the food on the way out of town, when I walk through that door with that white box or a bucket of chicken, they go crazy to get a hold of that fried chicken. So it cracks me up. The other day we were in town and we tried Pizza Hut. I haven't had Pizza Hut in probably close to 25 years that I can remember. I can't remember having Pizza Hut a single time before the year 2000. So I had no idea what to expect. Growing up, I've mentioned this before, my family, we weren't a huge fan of Pizza Hut because we had St. Louis-style pizza, and there was Emo's, the chain, and there were a number of other, local places that would produce the very thin crust St. Louis-style pizza. And Pizza Hut, their pan-style pizza is the exact opposite. So anyways, I won't go into a whole long thing. I don't want to eat up the whole show here. But I tried Pizza Hut while I was in town, got a couple of the pizzas for different types and flavors and tried them. Bacon, loved it, of course. It was covered in cheese and sauce. It wasn't bad. Is it what I would call good pizza? No, I wouldn't call it good pizza like compared to New York style pizza or Chicago style pizza or St. Louis or whatever else. It was a somewhat tasty pizza product for a fast food type experience. It's like 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches thick of basically, bread with some somewhat tangy pizza sauce on there and some cheese that melts pretty good and pepperoni. Did I have a desire to go eat more of it? Not particularly, but it wasn't bad. I would probably, add it on to an order or something like that at some point. I don't see myself going there anytime soon again, not because it wasn't good or I had an unpleasant experience. The store was fine, or the restaurant people were fine, and it was tasty. But I mean, to me, it tasted more like a pizza product, kind of like the Kraft singles or whatever they are, the slices of cheese. They're a cheese product. They're not actually technically a cheese because they have other ingredients. That's how I look at Pizza Hut pizza. It was a very, very thick bread with like a pizza type situation on top of it. Anyway, the KFC was much better. Enjoyed that. And now I can't. Every time I go in there, I got to make sure I bring home enough for Bacon and Kobra because they are addicted to Kentucky Fried Chicken. And it's turning fall here. Interestingly enough, we just had the fall. The first day of fall was like 4 or 5, 6 days ago. And here in the high desert, this is what people don't always know. If you've never been in the high desert, and I've mentioned this a number of times on the show, if you watch those old westerns where they're in the high desert and they're all going around in like those thick coats and scarves and gloves and hats and everything in those old movies and westerns, guys, the high desert is not like being out like in Death Valley. High desert gets sometimes extremely cold at night. We'll have a very full functioning winter season out here in the high desert, even though it may be hot during the day. Like the other night, it was 39 degrees at night, and it was in the 80s during the same day. So it's interesting. It's an interesting ecosystem. It's kind of neat to, and we if I had done the show 30 minutes earlier, we were getting pelted by big raindrops. A big rainstorm came through here, which is very unusual for this area and for the high desert. So it was a great sound here out in the shop. As you know, we record this and film this particular show out in the knife shop of Gear Convoy, Techline, and Wilson Custom Knives. So anyway, that's that. Also in this episode, we're going to dig into some physical fitness stuff and weight training. The high intensity training. Those of you that may be familiar with that, you'll already know kind of what's coming. Those of you that never heard of HIIT, H-I-T, or high intensity training, we'll dig into that. So let me get moving on that. And also, we did a segment recently on the show about how to build a fire for survival purposes, because one of the themes of the MOA broadcast is preparedness, situational awareness, and all that kind of stuff, and survival. So we talked about how to build a fire with nothing but like a Swiss Army knife and one strike anywhere match. We got a lot of positive feedback about that episode, so we're going to be doing some more segments on that. I'm going to try and do a video of walking through the steps of how to build a fire with the most rudimentary tools in one match. So that'll be interesting. We'll do a how to build a fire segment and so forth and flesh that out a little bit more. Okay, let's get into our news stories today. Let me have a quick sip. All right. President Trump's border czar Tom Homan says he did nothing wrong in bribery allegations and says there will be legal action soon. If you recall last week, or the week before the episode, I don't recall which, there were some allegations that Tom Homan, the border czar for President Trump, had taken $50,000 in a bag of cash. Basically, according to the allegations, promising some special access to or whatever government contracts for companies that were going to go ahead and give him some free money, basically. Now, if that's true, that's a bad deal, man, and it's got to get taken care of. So far, the White House has stood behind Homan, said he didn't do anything wrong. They shut down the investigation and so forth due to, according to them, lack of evidence or however they put it. Homan, while he didn't actually say he didn't do it, it was interesting. I saw an interview with him. I think it was on Newsmax. He didn't actually say he didn't do it, but he said he did nothing criminal and did nothing wrong. So we're going to see how that plays out. And all of these people, MSNBC in particular, I believe, is who ran the story. I have to double check on that. They were jumping on this, and there were some allegations made. So according to Tom Homan, he is getting a legal team together, and there will be legal action soon. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out because ICE, Homeland Security, and the Border Czar have come under heavy scrutiny with all these deportations going on. And speaking of which, we got, guys, this is, again, we don't get politically aligned here on this show, but you can't help but watch this stuff, on TV and then the news and see how this is playing out. You've got basically the whole world versus Trump right now. That maybe, and again, I don't care who you support or don't support. I don't care who I do or don't, whatever. We're just looking at how this is going out. What you've got going on here is Trump and his administration are talking about, and they are moving in and using ICE and DHS, and they're mobilizing National Guard troops in a number of locations to try and bring down the crime rate in some of these cities. And what is happening is the people on the left are being played right now by Trump, because what's happening is he's sending in National Guard to combat crime, and the media and the politicians have got people so brainwashed and into a tizzy over President Trump and anything that he says and does, that literally they're coming out there and in support of saying, oh, the crime is just fine. We don't have a problem with crime here, blah, blah. In Chicago, guys, in Portland, they're saying they don't have a problem with crime. Have you seen the murder rate in Chicago? It is several times higher than some of the other most dangerous cities in the country. Now, again, I'm not supporting either side and I'm not criticizing either side, but they have basically got people on the left, their pundits, coming out and supporting or against bringing down the crime level. And they don't realize they're being, and this is not just my opinion. I saw this same thing on a couple of news, quote unquote, entertainment programs tonight that are definitely not in support of Trump. Even they recognize that people are now supporting, in a way, or defending crime because they hate Trump so bad. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like this. I saw a video today. It wasn't even a Trump-related feed or a news station. It was a video of, I don't know when this even took place, but he was walking through some grocery store and giving people $100 bills to pay for their groceries or whatever it was. And he handed this lady a $100 bill, and it fell from his hand or whatever, and she picked it up. She was more than happy to get the $100 bill to pay for her groceries. And there were people in the comments lining up to say, oh, what a scumbag Trump is because he threw the $100 bill or he dropped it right in front of her. Guys, forget your political affiliation. It's insane. If you were that person getting $100, if you were checking out in groceries in the checkout line and somebody walked up and they gave you a $100 bill, or they flicked it at you, or they dropped it, would you care? Would you really care if they dropped it in front of you, like on the checkout conveyor belt, or they slid it into your hand? You would be happy to get $100 to pay for your groceries right now. Let's be honest. But that's what happened is people have gotten so crazy about this stuff. You don't want to like Trump. You do want to like Trump. I don't care. I really could not care. I've got friends and people that I speak with and listeners that are on both sides. I couldn't care less. But it is insane the way some people have just like lost their minds about this stuff. We could go on that forever, but that's what's going on in Portland and Chicago both. They're getting ready to bring in the National Guard in Portland, and they had the governor. We're not going to get into the politics. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. But anybody that has been in Portland in the last several years, I used to live in Portland. Guys, I moved out of there several years ago because it was so insane. I had a crazed crackhead try to bust into my knife shop in the middle of the night one time, and he wanted to kill me. Those were his exact words. In fact, he got a lot juicier than that, but I can't put it on the radio. Insane what has been going on in that city for years. And they're insisting they don't need any help. Same thing in Chicago. They're going on, we don't need any help in Chicago. And so it is just crazy. And if you watch the videos on social media, whether it's TikTok or X or whatever else, there are clashes with ICE going on like a daily basis. People are getting pepperballed, they're getting tear gas, pepper sprayed, and just taken down physically. So it is really heating up and getting hot in Portland and Chicago. And something tells me those aren't going to be the last cities where this takes place. So going to be interesting. I guess we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and jump into, I was going to do this story of the lawyer that got dismembered. If we don't get to it today, we'll put it in the next show that's going to come out on probably Thursday morning or Friday morning. Let's jump into the HIT training. So this is something that's been near and dear to my heart for a very long time. I'm probably not in the greatest shape I've ever been in my life. I wouldn't say I'm in bad shape, but I'm not in the greatest shape for sure. And certainly I'm in the shape that I was in like in my early 20s when I was working out very, very regularly. There are several different types of training. For those of you that are into physical fitness and weight training, or even, some analog of that, you're going to probably be aware of what's called HIT training, HIT, high intensity training. You don't need to say HIT training. It's kind of a double positive there. But regardless, it's called HIT, high intensity training. There are a number of different mentors and gurus in the high intensity training world, and they all have their different, MO, their modus operandi of high intensity training. I have trained probably, I've never been a professional trainer. I'm not a physical fitness certified anything. So this is all just informational. Don't take this information, act on it. As they always say in the disclaimers, you should consult your physician before beginning any physical fitness regimen or program. Now, that being said, I can tell you from my personal experience, I can relate this anecdotal evidence and empirical data if you would like to hear it. Having used HIIT training off and on for over 20-something years now, I can tell you by far, without a shadow of a doubt, it is the best way, in my opinion and experience, to train to get in the best shape, to get the biggest and the strongest as possible, especially without the use of drugs, growth hormones, steroids, PEDs, whatever in the world you want to call it, any type of supplementation at all. The absolute best gains I've experienced myself, and in the dozens, if not over hundreds, not hundreds, but I would have to go back and check, could have been over 100 people that I have trained informally. And by informal, I mean 1 or 2 or 3 sessions, or sometimes weeks or months at a time. And it was all documented. I've got notebooks and stacks of papers somewhere and that I could dig up with different people's progress over the years, going back a couple of decades. Saw by far the best gains ever with HIIT, with high intensity training. To break this down, it's kind of a long story, but to make it very, very simple, the thing that triggers the growth mechanism, for those of you, again, that don't do much physical fitness or that are looking to get into it or want to get in shape, most people know by now, we've had a lot of advances in physical fitness and training and stuff over the last couple of decades. You don't actually grow and get stronger is what we believe and think we know now. And I say that only because things seem to change all the time, and things that were firmly entrenched and held beliefs are oftentimes shown to be completely wrong years later. But we don't grow and get stronger in the gym while you're working out. Essentially, the most basic way of putting it is you're breaking down and stressing the body by inducing stress to the muscles and the nervous system and so forth. You're triggering a growth spurt in your muscles. Okay, hypertrophy, however you want to pronounce it. We're not going to get into that debate either right now. Muscular growth, whether it's strength and or size, those occur kind of simultaneously, not on a straight line, but they kind of go together. Excuse me. So what it boils down to is, to get bigger and stronger, what you have to do is continually introduce a greater load or a stress onto your muscles, and do this in a progressive manner. Okay. Now, the reason high-intensity training comes up, the standard way a lot of people, if not most people by far probably, because HIIT training has always been kind of a minority type thing in the weightlifting and bodybuilding and fitness world. Most people go and they do 3 sets of 10, or they do 2 sets of whatever it is. There's almost always multiple sets per body part, and lots of repetitions, and working out 3 to 4, 5 days a week and so forth, consecutive days on and off and so forth. The way high intensity training works is you basically do 1 set to failure. That if you could put it all into one little statement and bring it down to the finest point, that's probably a big part of it, is the 1 set to failure way of training, and that activates the growth mechanism. Here's the thing: when it comes to activating that growth mechanism, we don't know exactly what percentage of effort it is that activates the growth mechanism. Is it 75%? Is it 82%? Is it 97%? So we don't know exactly, but we do know there's only 2 different percentages of effort that you can actually measure reliably and consistently when it comes to working out, okay, and putting out intensity. And those 2 levels of intensity or effort are 0 and 100%. Basically doing nothing and maximal effort going to failure. All right? So since we don't know exactly where that switch is that you flip that activates the growth mechanism and the growth stimulation, the easiest way to make sure you hit it is by going to 100% effort, which is going to failure. What does training to failure mean? Sometimes you hear people talking, and this is mostly people that either don't understand or are incapable of doing it themselves. They'll say training to failure is training to fail, or something along those lines. And that's not true at all. That is, in fact, again, if you don't want to believe this, my friends, please do whatever makes you happy. There are a lot of different ways of working out, and a lot of them will get you very, very similar results. Do whatever you want, but do not think for a second that training to failure does not work. It absolutely does. I have had astonishing results in my life and in the training and the results and lives of others that I've trained over the years. And I am by no means unique. It's not me that did any of this. I didn't come up with any of this. I'm just sharing it with you. So the way you know you train to failure, what does that mean? Training to failure. It means you're going and let's say we're going to do a set of barbell curls. Okay. Let's say it doesn't matter the weight, whatever. You're going to do a set, one set of barbell form to clean failure, which means when you can no longer do clean, solid repetitions safely, and you can't go through the full range of motion, you have failed. So let's say it's a set of 10, you fail at the 10th rep after you complete on the way down, okay? Around rep 7 or 8, it's getting real tough, but you're still keeping it clean somewhat. There may be a little bit of body English, a little bit of cheating. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you're keeping it clean, and it's by all means, the main thing, keep it safe. You're not flinging the weight up there. You're not doing it fast. There's no need for fast or high speed. A good cadence is about 2 to 4 seconds up and 4 to 6 seconds for the negative. If you can take your ego out of it and you want to get bigger and stronger, that is a great cadence. Usually around 2 to 4 seconds for the positive and 4 to 6 seconds, somewhere in that range, for lowering or the negative portion of the repetition. If you do this until you can no longer do a clean rep, you have gone to failure. Now, in the particular case of barbell curls, straight barbell curls for the biceps, one of the most effective and also the most violently painful exercises if done properly into failure in the strict form. It is very safe, and you will notice growth. It is a tremendously good way. The easy curl bar, let's do that a different time. The main thing here is safe. You don't have to worry about trying to throw the weight and all this other stuff. And you're doing one set to failure. Now, another time, because we're already zipping through a lot of time here, another time I'll get into the kind of how the genesis of this training happened, how I got into it, and so forth. But I've been, like I said, using this method of training off and on for over close to 25 years now, folks. It absolutely works. I've got the notebooks and the records of my training and my workouts and many other people's to show that it does. Where you're going to have, and the reason, that's the point I was trying to make a minute ago. The reason going to failure is so important in this type of working out is beyond a shadow of a doubt, 100%, you have hit that point where you trigger the so-called stimulation or the growth mechanism, whatever in the world you want to call it, okay? Because if it's 87%, if it's 92%, 96%, we don't know, and you can't go in there. Even if you know your body, you may think, okay, I'm going to do about 75, 85%, but you can't be 100% certain unless you do it 100%. There's no way to consistently say this is 87% of my muscular strength and capacity, okay? And that's where high-intensity training kind of stands out. It only takes one set, and here is who this type of training and style and methodology is going to be for. If you like short workouts, if you like getting the job done and getting out of there, if you can tolerate and endure pain and discomfort, if you are motivated and driven, if you want the maximum benefit and reward for the least amount of input of time and effort, this is going to be for you. If you like to go to the gym, and I'm not criticizing or saying this is wrong, but if you like to go to the gym and hang out, play on your phone, talk to your buddies, do 5, 6, 8 sets of different, exercises for different parts of the body, and spend an hour and a half in the gym and have a good time and be able to talk and listen to music while you're doing all this, this is not going to be for you. You're not going to like it. Over the years, that is by far the most probably criticism that I've received and seen online and in other places against the HIIT or high-intensity training is people that they just, almost everybody, there's the train on the background if you can hear it, almost everybody that criticizes this type of training, they think they can train hard and go to failure and their workouts are killer. But let me tell you, folks, you put them through a good, solid, high-intensity routine, they sing a different tune. I have trained, like I said, dozens, if not over 100 people over the years. Maybe one or two of them came in and were ready to hit that full intensity right off the bat and were able to. The relationship with the high intensity and the fatigue and the pain, the lactic acid buildup and the burning and everything else, the pump and all that comes with that type of training, it's a relationship, folks. It grows over time. What you think is your all-out maximum in the beginning is going to be very, very different than what you think and believe your all-out maximum is going to be several months, a year, 5 years, 10 years later as you develop a relationship with your body and with that style of training. You're going to know how to dig deeper and go harder. But the results are worth it. You will gain by far more gains, strength, and size, muscularly speaking, and cardiovascularly speaking, if you do it in a certain way, than you would going in there 3 to 4, 5 times a day and spending, or a week, excuse me, and spending, 1, 2, 3 hours working out. We'll dig into this more in the next episode, but that's what we're going to leave it there. I encourage you to do a little research on high-intensity HIT training. There are, again, a number of different gurus and masters over the years, and they all have the kind of their own spin on this. But the very basic precepts that you're looking at are working out one set to failure for each of your major body parts. And when you're getting new into working out and whatever it is, whether your goals are bodybuilding or fitness, powerlifting, strength, whatever, you always think that the magic bullet is going to be some magic workout, this perfect workout, this perfect set of exercises, or this, that, and the other. It really isn't, folks. The longer you do this and the more you do it, you realize the more important things are a couple of good, big exercises, big movements that involve, compound movements that involve multiple muscle groups, things like deadlifts, things like the full squat where you put your butt on your heels. And again, that can be done very safely. Things like dips, chin-ups, weighted dips and weighted chin-ups, barbell curls, overhead press. A handful of these good barbell exercises will work wonders. It is not really about having the magical routine, okay? And your body is going to develop the way it develops. Whenever you develop muscle and get bigger and stronger and lower your body fat, you're not going to be able to do a whole bunch of exercises that change or elongate your muscle bellies. That doesn't happen. Those things are determined genetically at birth or at conception. That's how it works. When people say I want to work out and get like a swimmer's body, that doesn't work, guys. Swimmers are born swimmers. Gymnasts are born gymnasts. Look at it like this: the same thing that makes an offensive lineman in football, the same traits that make him fantastic at his sport and his chosen profession would be disastrous if he were a ballerina or if he were a gymnast or something like that. So these people, they're born, not made. And there's training and there is talent, there's skill and everything else that goes on, hard work. I'm not taking anything away from that. But someone who is born with a gymnast proportion, let's say they're a male and they're 5'4", and they're 164 pounds when they are ripped out and fully developed maximally, they're never going to be able to go and play in the NBA. It's not going to happen. So those traits are born, not made. Then you do the best you can with what you've got. Some people have the ability or they have the potential for fantastic, phenomenal muscular strength and growth and size and density, the dense cross-section of the muscle bellies and length of the muscle bellies. And some people are basically going to be a little bit improved over when they started. Some people have next to no genetic potential in that regard. You gotta learn to accept what you've got and make the most of it and be happy with that. And that's the point of high intensity training. One of the points, you get in there, you get the job done, you get out, and then you don't have to spend your whole life thinking and working and worrying about working out and all this stuff and chasing the perfect routine and so forth. So we'll dig deeper into that and some of the methodologies in our next episode or in a future episode. But now I need a quick sip because my throat is getting dry. All right, folks, we'll dig into hit some more. We're not going to have time for the Scottish lawyer segment. We will get to that in the next episode. And we're going to have that video episode of the fire building training coming up. Now, for this, we go, we're not going to have time for that one either. Doggone it. It sounded really good. It's very unfortunate, but we'll get to that one later, a hiker story. You know what? Let's go ahead and jump down. We're enough time in. We go to South Carolina. Hang on. Okay. South Carolina teaching assistant busted after his fart spray. After his fart spray causes $55,000 in damage. This story comes to us via the New York Post. A South Carolina high school staffer has been busted for repeatedly using fart spray. He's accused of hurting students' health and causing a staggering $55,000 in damage to school property. Florence High School teaching assistant Alexander Lewis, and do we have his picture? Let's see here. Where'd he go? Oh my God. I'm looking at this guy. Let me just say, when you look at him, it's pretty easy to believe this happened. Alexander Lewis, 32, was arrested for allegedly using what cops called, quote, an internet-acquired spray designed to imitate fecal odor. He bought it online and used it multiple times between August 25th and September 19, according to the Florence County Sheriff's Office. After students raised their own stink about it, the school inspected gas and propane lines and tested for air quality, all to no avail. They couldn't figure out where those farts were coming from. But an excuse me. An inspection of the school's air conditioning system found damage that cost the district more than $55,000, according to officials, who did not detail exactly how it was damaged or what exactly cost $55,000. They also did not reveal exactly how they sniffed out Lewis as the suspect. However, he was arrested on Friday of last week and charged with disturbing schools as a non-student and malicious injury to property over $10,000. He was booked into Florence County Corrections Facility on a $9,000 bond before being released on Saturday afternoon. He reportedly said, "That stinks." No, he did not make that up. All right, folks. Don't wait until you have an emergency to prepare for it. If you wait, it may be too late. If you don't make it out alive, you don't make it out at all. Stay safe out there, folks.